Hello and welcome back to the Apprentice One-to-One podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and I've been joined today by the fantastic Ben Curry from Electrical Innovations. How are you, Ben?
I'm great, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, cheers for taking the time out to come and speak about your journey into the electrical industry from the start to where you are right now. You've had quite an experience, so let's go from the beginning. How did you first get into the electrical industry?
So when I was at school, I kind of had a few ideas of what I'd like to do in my life, like no teenager ever does. And we had a friend of a family who ran a TV repair shop, and I thought, oh, wait, that sounds nice. I applied at Rolls-Royce, wasn't clever enough, obviously. And then ended up going down the route of looking at wanting to do these TV repairs. So I spoke to the careers officer, and they said, "Oh yeah, you should be an electrician." And like as an electrician, I don't think I've ever repaired a TV in 25 years of doing it. But so they put me onto an apprenticeship, and it was through the JTL, and the JTL put me in touch with some employers in the area, and I had an interview with a company called Pennington Lee. Finished for school. 2 weeks later, I was working as an electrician, or an apprentice electrician, and that was 1998.
So yeah, you must be a similar kind of age to me then. I'm early 40s without revealing my exact age. It's 41. I don't know why I said that. But I guess it's good to know that even back then, the careers advisors were trying to help you, because that's one of the common complaints I get, that there's no advice in school today. So you had that back then.
Yeah, a little bit. They put me on the right path. It wasn't what I'd asked for, but it turned out all right, hasn't it? So yeah, it wasn't bad back then. I think nowadays, it's kind of bottom of the list, isn't it?
It seems to be.
Teaching and things like that. I think they're very much focused on getting them in and getting them out, rather than being too worried about where they go next.
Seems to be the case. So your apprenticeship, it was a full 3-4 year program. Is that kind of what you went through?
Yeah, and it's something I feel quite strongly about now. Um, Anyone I've spoke to in my career who didn't do a proper apprenticeship have had problems. And I'm a I'm a big supporter of the gold card system. I don't think it's perfect, but I like it. And anyone who's tried to get to the stage where they can call themselves a proper electrician with all the qualifications, if they've not done a proper apprenticeship, they've always struggled. Like there's a cert missing, or college have lost this, or so and so's gone missing there. So I think the sort of people that go into the trades need the hand holding with that, and a proper apprenticeship provider does that hand holding. Whereas at a college, you just kind of like, oh, this is your course. Now go and find an employer.
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. And, I've said lots of times the easiest way to qualify as an electrician is through an apprenticeship. It's really difficult via any other means because of what you just said. Getting all the bits of paper you need, getting the work experience, it is really hard. So it's great that you had that. As you kind of worked through your career, then did you go into employed work first, or was you straight into the business you've got then? How did it pan out for you after that?
Yeah, so I feel like I was really lucky with my apprenticeship. Looking back, what at the time I didn't feel that way, but looking back, I think we did. I fell on my feet with it. Really, we did a lot of different types of varied work, and what that meant was we had a good team who were very knowledgeable. We could turn a hand to anything. So when it came to me going out on my own, I'd had that good experience, and I could do a bit of everything. And I think I'd have been happy there for a long time, but our boss died. He must have been quite young. Obviously, at the time, I must have been 20 or so. He died, and we got bought out by a larger company, and they basically bought the company for the contracts and
Right.
ran it into the ground. And I didn't last very long after that. I was straight off on my own. And you hear the tales of subbies earning loads of money. So I just went on my own, and never really looked back. I mean, over the years, I've been employed again, and I've been on my own again. But over the last 10, 15 years, it's been mostly self-employment or like running the business that I've got now.
Yeah, that's a common tale I think that lots of us go through. That's kind of what happened for me. Different circumstances. The boss didn't die, but he sold the business on, and it was kind of taken for its contracts, and you kind of end up pushed out there, don't you? I guess it's kind of find a new job or take matters into your own hands. That was my mindset and how I started my business. I think a similar sort of time to you, around 2006, 2007. Is that when you ventured out on your
Yeah,
own?
in 2006, I registered self-employed. I was 23 at the time.
Brave step at such a young age.
I know it seems crazy. I think that's about the right time. It's a long time ago, but the company that bought our company was in Nottingham, so it was a half an hour, 40-minute drive away, and I was currently living 10 minutes from the office, so it was a big like shake to the system, and it just not what I wanted. Didn't want it, so I'm not interested in that. So found something else local.
Yeah, fair play to you. Yeah, that's the same sort of thing as me. Definitely. So when you step up into running your own business, you've kind of been at it now for a few years. What's that journey been like for you? I mean, I know you sat there now as an employer, you've got people in your team doing work every day, but I imagine it wasn't always like that.
No, I never wanted that. I was happy being the lone gun, turning up my van and my tools and doing my bit and clearing off. 3-day weeks and all of that. Fridays and Mondays off every week. I was dead happy for a long time being a sole trader subcontractor, mostly working on new build sites, subbing to various guys. Love that sort of work. And then when all stopped, I went into the solar industry employed, and I had about 4 or 5 years in the solar industry for one company. Then went to another company and back into electrical, employed again. That didn't work very well. Again, working away, things like I didn't like it. So I went back into solar. Loved it. Loved the solar, really did. When I had kids, that was where I drew the line, and I was like, I don't want to be traveling up and down the country anymore. So knocked that on the head entirely. So I had my daughter in the summer, and by the October we'd set up electrical innovations, and I'd quit my job, set up the business, took staff on, which I said I'd never do, and it all changed all of a sudden. And we were based in Derby doing local council work for subcontracting still, but I had 2 or 3 teams under me. At some point, I had 6 or 7 guys all doing the same contract subcontracting. Just not nice work, but it pays the bills. We had a few years of that, and then I got fed up of the feeling almost like I was employed and like the council was running my business, telling us what work we'll be doing, when we'll be doing it, and all the rest. Even telling us the prices. So eventually, completely stopped that. Completely scaled the business back down to me and one other guy, and just went private domestic. And since then, that's been our sort of bread and butter. Almost all of our work is that sort of work, private domestic. And we've gone from that must have been, well, Colin, who works for me, who's my ops manager now, he's been with us about 6 years. So that was when, it wasn't long after when he joined that we stopped doing the council work. So yeah, about 5 or 6 years since we've been doing that, and it's been brilliant, really good. And we've gone from strength to strength. So from the two of us, 2 vans, up to, I think we've got 7 vans now, with 12 staff, and it's doing really well.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And
Thank
to have
you.
grown all of that yourself with your own sweat and blood, I know what that means. So full credit to you. And it's
Bit
kind of come
hard.
it's come around for you in a way, because the buzzword around industry now is renewables, solar, and you've got that expertise from what, 10 years ago now?
Yeah. So again, Colin, he's one of those guys where anyone who speaks to him like, why don't you run your own business? You're brilliant, brilliant with customers, brilliant at the job. And the last thing he wants to do is quote jobs, speak to customers, all that. He just wants to work. Which is ironic now because I've got him out quoting, but but he's the one who got me into the solar. So we worked together at an electrical company, and he took a job in solar, and he rang me and says they're looking for blokes. So I went in there, worked with him for a few years there. We've stayed friends now for 15 years or more. Followed him to another electrical company, another solar company as well. So fast forward into now, we've had customers knowing our history, knowing who we worked for and where we've worked, saying to us, I want solar, can you do it for us? And we're like, no, we don't do it anymore. We do the odd repair and the odd bit and bob. But I got fed up of turning it down. So at the start of the year, I said, right, we're going to get into solar. And we've done it in the past with similar services. People asking us for cameras. So we'd learned about cameras, we got into that, and alarms, and now EVs and renewables. So it just goes in hand with, we know our customer base, it's the local area, we know what services we can offer them. And when our existing customers are asking us for more, we look at ways to be able to offer them. And the solar side of it is boomed for us this year. It's been really good.
I imagine it has. And one of the things that I think you do really well is your messaging on social media. So I know from following you for a long time that you do the cameras and the alarms, because there was loads of posts about all of that, and very localized to where you live. You're really clear and concise in that. It's fantastic. And now with the solar stuff, I've seen you explode on TikTok. You seem to get loads of engagement in and around there. And that does that
Really,
help? Does that
yeah.
help your business? Is that kind of a sales pipeline for you as well?
It's really a two-edged sword with TikTok at the moment. So we love TikTok. We do very well from it. We've had some amazing customers from it. And I'm not talking a little bit of work either. It's like hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of work from TikTok. So anyone who thinks social media is a load of rubbish, you could run your whole business off a local Facebook group. And TikTok's blown up for us, but I can't put videos on there now because if I do, we get that much demand in. Like the phones are clogged up for 3 days. People angry emails from people saying they've inquired and not had an email back, and so we have to be really careful about what we do put on TikTok because when you get a video that gets 300,000 views in a weekend, even if 5% of them call you, it's chaos. So we're trying to manage that at the moment. We've took some more office staff on just to be able to ramp up for that in the new year. But yeah, the social media has been fantastic for us. My wife works in the business, and when she was talking about leaving teaching to come to work for us, I says, well, we just need to be posting on Facebook every day. So she was a bit unsure. Oh, I don't really know about, that sort of, so just learn it. And she did, she took to it, she's learned it over the last few years. She just makes sure we've got some content going out on all of our social media platforms every day. And it's really good. It's brought us tons of work in. And when people are saying that, I'm thinking of making it out on my own. How do I do it? How do I bring the work on? And it's just like, go on your local Facebook groups and just be honest and helpful. Tell customers what they want to hear and help them with the jobs. And the more you do that, the more they'll be recommending you, and the more work you'll get in. And over time, it almost steamrolls and snowballs that no one can catch you. Someone posts in our local group, does anyone know an electrician? I don't even have to go on there. Like 20 people recommend us, and that's unbeatable. Someone comes in the area now, and it's very difficult for them to get to that level.
Yeah, that's such a powerful message. I mean, there's lots of apprentices who will be following this and want to utilize social media, and they'll see some of the big profiles that we all know and probably watch across YouTube and social media. But it's not all about that. You can build a business and do very well out of it just by being present and involving yourself in the discussion, as you've said.
Yeah.
And having a team around you helping you do it now and getting so busy from it that you answer the phone is fantastic. That's brilliant.
Challenge. Yeah, I mean, this is one thing. I mean, everyone says it about Instagram and social media. It's like you don't need 1 million followers. You need, if you've got 500 followers within a mile of your house, then that's much better than having 1 million followers all spread over the world. I know what I'd prefer. Definitely, I'd prefer the 500 local ones.
Yeah, it's utilizing it and leveraging it to your own best purpose, isn't it? So full credit to you. And now you're there with your business. Do you employ apprentices? You got people in your team on a learning journey?
We've had a few ups and downs with apprentices. It's a challenge. We've got one at the moment still in training. We've got an adult learner who's just about finished. That's it at the moment. We had a bad experience with one last year, so we've had the good, we've had the bad, we've had some that have come into us older and gone through, and yeah, so we've had quite a mix.
I mean, that's a fair experience that a lot of employers will have. And that's one of the reasons I like having these discussions, because sometimes it can feel like employers are interested in apprentices, but it's a two-way street. There has to be that commitment and buy-in from them as well. And it is difficult. Employers have had bad experiences. That's the truth of the matter. But, the fact you've got people in there now trying to qualify and you're helping them is fantastic. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. But it is difficult. So just to try and explain some of the employers' struggles, and I know this myself from employing apprentices, but what are some of the key things that would put you off from stepping up to do that?
So one of my main bugbear with when an apprentice approaches us for a job is there's two ways of doing it. There's the text message, have you got any jobs, mate? And then there's the letter from the mum, and they're equally as bad. I get that the mums want to help the sons or the daughters go out and get these jobs, but it comes across a lot of the time like the kids aren't interested, and they're only doing it because the teacher or the mum or the dad or whoever's putting them up to it. I see that a lot. I see that quite a lot.
So
Also, when the thought that someone would sit there and have to send 10 CVs because they're getting badgered by the mum or the teacher to get them sent out, and it's just like, we're on social media. Our office is. The biggest school in Derby is within quarter of a mile. So there's the most amount of kids leaving and possibly looking for apprenticeships. But no one's ever come to us and like said, "Oh, I know that you're local. I've seen your website. I've seen you." Like, no research or anything like that. So that'd go a long way. Someone would come to us and said, "I know you live in Chellaston. I've seen that you're right near the school. I've seen the vans around, all that sort of thing." Would go a really long way. Whereas you get a lot of copy and paste, like, type this out,
definitely.
paste it into these emails, and that's it. And that's frustrating because the analogy I use quite a lot is, if you can figure out which gun to use on your Call of Duty, you can probably figure out which way your wiring should be going, because it's not that difficult. So just doing that bit of extra, going a bit of extra mile would go a long way.
It's personalising, and I think it comes back to attitude. I've had this discussion with a number of employers, and I'd rather have someone who's got a good attitude and are determined rather than maybe the smartest person out there, because we can teach this job to most people. That's the reality of it. But if you haven't got that attitude at the beginning, it's really difficult. So if you are watching this and you're trying to seek out an employer, do what Ben said, do a bit of research, show good positive attitude, and try and engage with them, because they'll give you a better chance than not.
Yeah, and for us, for hiring now, we do it the other way. We're very unlikely to accept a job application of someone coming to us unless they were really good. Okay, so we get that many all the time that we're spoiled for choice. So someone's got to really stand out. Whereas the last person I hired, she's 16. She's at college full time, so she's coming in with us one day a week, a couple of hours on the evenings, working from home, and she's helping us do admin and things like that. And I approached her for a job because I'd heard of experience at the last place she worked and why she left, and it just blew me away that she was that unhappy with the job and how badly organised they were and all the rest, that she went and sat a manager down and explained to the manager why she was leaving, because she was so unhappy with the place. And like, that's unheard of. Like, 16-year-olds, they get the mum to ring in or they send a text. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, we can find some work for her to come on board with us. And it's worked out really well. And so we're at the situation now where, rather than hoping that someone emails in a CV in, it's like we're more looking out for the people. So if you can go and demonstrate why we should look at you, that's what you need to be thinking.
Yeah, such a good point. And just to spin that around a bit and think about it from an employer's point of view, because there's lots of employers who follow along with these podcasts. When did you kind of realize that you needed to employ? Is it just something that kind of happened by accident, or was it a conscious decision? What led you to do that?
So when I quit my job at the solar company I worked for, it was partly in the fact that I was fed up of traveling all over the country, but also in the fact that a guy who was running a contract in Derby wanted me to take it on, but it was not something I could do on my own. I'd need to have a second pair of hands. So at that point, I had to hire someone. So that was the first step, was hiring someone to get a contract. And then, because it was contract work, it's like, "Oh, Ben, can you take a second stream on?" So then it's like, "Oh, I need a whole second team, and then a third, and then a fourth." And then all of a sudden, I'm just monitoring the work that's coming through, and the guys are out there doing it. So it just went from there. And then when we stopped doing that, and I was like, forget it, we're going to go back on the tools. I'm going to go just domestic, local, none of the contract stuff. Again, I was getting that many phone calls in. It was almost like unhappy customers because I can't get back to them quick enough. It's like, well, if I can take someone on, I can spend my time getting the jobs in, they can do the work. And that worked really well. It's very difficult though, very up and down until COVID, basically. We'd gone up, we'd gone down, we got up to 6 staff and back down a bit. And then during COVID, I had a chance to sort of reset and think about what we're going to do going forward. And it was actually my accountant who said, "Why don't you hire an admin person full time?" Because I was still looking at VAs and things like that. I think there's a call centre out there that actually electricians. So
Right.
or not electricians, they all used to work in wholesalers. So I was thinking of hiring them because they know the products, they know all of that, they know how to talk to trades. And it's like a virtual team, they take the calls, they quote the jobs on the phone, I go out and do them. And my accountant said, why don't you just hire someone? I was like, oh, I can't afford that. It's like, 20, 30 grand a year. And he's like, no, you put them on a 6-week trial, get them in for 2 or 3 hours a day. What's it going to cost you? And that was like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. And that was the ad I put out, 6-week trial, 2 or 3 hours a day. Anyway, we found someone, it literally changed our business entirely, having a full-time admin staff. Just allowing someone else to deal with the day-to-day phone calls coming in, telling customers appointments, not, it's like as a trade, your phone goes, you write something down, you book, you lose it, and all the rest of it. That literally changed our business, and that allowed me the time then to, when I did hire someone, spend more time on the training. When I'd gone through the door and trained up, spend more time on bringing the jobs in, and then since then we've gone up and up and up.
So you're, rather than employing people out doing the daily graft, as we might call it, you've taken the approach of building an admin team to help you grow your business. That's something that we often look at as like an expense or a drain on revenue potential, but it's the opposite. I've got the same experience myself, and it happened by accident. Same sort of thing. Brought my wife into the business, and she kind of took on the office management role and built all that up, and it exploded. That's what happened with us, and it was unexpected. I think a lot of electricians are resistant to take that step. I was. It sounds like you was as well, but one of the best things I did.
It's really simple. So if you want someone to change a consumer unit, you get someone who's good at changing consumer units to do it, yeah? And if you want someone to answer the phone and manage a diary, do you get the consumer unit guy to do that? Or do you get someone who's got years of admin experience and knows how to do that really well? And also, hey, mate, yeah, no problem, I can do your job, yeah. Or to, hello, electrical innovations, I can help. That, it's an entirely different thing. And it also goes hand in hand with, what it's like. The customers ring up, oh, can you do it for cheap? Can you do cash? Can you do this, that, and the other? They don't even ring when they know, like, they're going to ring an office, when they know they're seeing the uniform assignment vans and all the rest. Those people who want cheap, they don't even waste your time calling, and you don't want them calling. You don't want to waste your time. You want the customers who want to pay for a quality service, and they're happy to pay a bit more, and you can charge more because of that. And that's the sort of customer you want to work with. It's the sort of person you want ringing, and it all goes hand in hand. And it's helped us no end.
It's so true. And you're dead right, because we'll often go on social media and complain as electricians when anyone even looks at a wire who isn't an electrician. Yet we're happy to get involved in accounts, answering phones, doing anything and everything. We'll even touch a bit of plumbing from time to time. So we're hypocrites, really. It's you're dead right. You want that expertise in your business, and that's exactly what you've done. And it's blown up massively for you, and it's brilliant to see. Now, is it fair to say you're kind of focusing in on just solar and renewables? Is that roughly where you are now, or are you still doing other bits and pieces as well?
No, so we what my plan is for solar at the minute. We've got one team that does solar, so it's one install team, and then moving into next year, I want to put a second team on. But what that's required is having the back office team to handle that, because what people don't realize with solar is the admin side of it's intense. So there's a lot of compliance, and there's a lot of moving parts. Just on, if someone rings you up for a solar job, you've got to do a design, you've got to go out and measure the roof, you've got to do a survey, you've got to then order the kit, order the scaffold, you've got to get any permits you need, like your G99 or anything like that in place. Just the G99 applications, 5 or 6 emails. Spread over 3 months sometimes, so you got to keep track of them, make sure the letters are going to the right place. It's not something you'd like to be doing while you're also racing around in the van. So we've had to design a system for that. We've had to get a person in to manage the system. Got to train the staff up, because although me and Colin were really experienced with solar, the rest of the team we've had on training courses. We've had on-site training with them. I mean, they're brilliant now. I don't go to the sites anymore for solar. Craig, actually, one of our adult learners who we spoke about earlier, he's qualified and he's had a promotion straight away to solar supervisor, because he's heading up that. So he's heading up our solar team, working really well. So we've now got the things in place where we can put a second team on. I don't want to go crazy and, you know, try and be selling 50 systems a week and putting it all around the country. It's not what we want. We still want, you know, local work for good people, close to the office, sleep in your own bed at night and all of that. But it would be nice to have a second stream running. And then all the existing stuff, it's just been running as normal. Nothing's really changed there. Although it is weird to think that now we've got a solar team going out with 3 lads at a site, and previously them 3 lads have been running around on small works. So obviously we're doing something a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's put us off jumping into solar, because we've done all the courses and we're prepped and ready to do it, is the supply chain issues, and then also the storage of those materials. Because, you know, if you're doing a couple of solar jobs a week, you'll know the gear's big, it takes up space.
Yeah.
You've got to have somewhere to put it. It's not something you can just order in for next day delivery. So have you found issues with that as well?
Yeah, so we've got an office with a bit of a warehouse, not very big, but we can fit 3 or 4 pallets in if we needed to. We tend to we've gone between getting it straight to site and getting it to the office and back and forth on that. I'm still not sure the best way. The best way is getting it to the office, but you need the space. So managing the stock, it's fairly easy. You just have to manage the customer's expectations, which means putting your big boy pants on at the start and saying to them, look, it's going to be 3 or 4 months or more, and making sure they know that and they're fine with it. Whereas a lot of people are more like, yeah, we can get it in, and, you know, wanting the sale, but actually worrying that if they tell the customer the truth, the customer will think, oh, I'll go elsewhere, because the next guy over probably telling them little white lies. So we're doing all right. We give the customers options as well. So, you know, panels, inverters, rail, we can get in stock. Batteries might be a few months, but what do you want to do? Do you want to wait, or do you want to get the panels up now and come back for the batteries? So we're making sure the customers feel like they're in control of it and they're making their own choices, and try and keep them informed and all the rest. So we're doing all right with it.
Oh, fantastic. I was really kind of leading towards the domestic electrician apprenticeship with that chain of question. I don't know if you've heard of that, but there's a new apprenticeship standard coming out alongside what we would term the traditional electrical apprenticeship, and that kind of is more focused in on solar and renewables. So obviously industry's looking at it and thinking this is going to become kind of a full-time role in its own right, of people popping up offering just those services. You know, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's my thought that the industry should be separated. I know a few years ago there's a big thing about Hinkley Point about the containment.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. I don't think it's an electrician's job to put cable tray and trunking in. It should be a specific trade for that. I think the way they went about it might not have been the right way. But if you've got a shortage of electricians in the industry anyway, the electricians shouldn't be kicking up a fuss about tray being someone else's job. Obviously, I know the next guy over might be like really against that. But at the end of the day, it's the same with domestic. You shouldn't be expecting someone who's done, you know, like me, 25 years experience in all areas of the trade. I'm not going to be as good as someone who's just done industrial. Like, I won't have a clue about a motor. I could get a drawing out and have a go, and I could figure it out because I've got the experience to figure it out. But it should be a different thing entirely. And same as the guy who's used to walking around a factory at night, fault finding machines, shouldn't be expected to know how to wire a ring main, wire two-way lighting, fault finding a house, all of that sort of thing. It is a different trade, in my opinion, and I think it should be. So these avenues into the domestic apprenticeship and things like that, I think it's good. I think it just needs to be done the right way and managed properly, which might be a challenge.
I think that's how I see it as well. As long as it is looked after properly, that someone can't just simply transfer from doing a certain, I mean, it could be from doing the industrial side and then transfer into domestic. It's not necessarily the way around. But as long as there's good gatekeeping between those two things, I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them. We've had some real crap come in and work for us in the past. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And these are people that have been in the industry years and years and years, and they just don't know the job. And normally it's when they've been on big sites and they just like to get away with it. And it shouldn't be allowed. And then equally, we've seen people where, you know, they've done a 6-week course and they're brilliant, and they're absolutely brilliant, and they've got the right attitude, and you know they'll eventually make a really good electrician. So it goes both ways. There's no blanket statement that covers it all, I don't think. I think the the policing of it's difficult, and the enforcing of it's difficult. But then, well, if we're in the NIC, it should be companies like that are taking the mantle on for this.
Yeah, I think finally it is starting to happen, and we've seen the EAS document change. So they want this now set standard. And we just did a podcast on the experienced worker route, actually, where there's a benchmark now that everyone's kind of got to attain. And a lot of the guys you spoke about who have been on sites for years are quite resistant to that, because they think they've done the job a long time, they're already qualified, they know what they're doing, and why should they have to do a portfolio and do an AM2 or whatever?
Yeah, they should. I think they should, because if they get the job wrong, they're going to kill someone. And yes, they might have the experience to do it right, but they can't demonstrate that like legally, because it's all just like, the old boys club. They've been doing it years, and unfortunately the world changes. And it's just the truth of it. And it's the same with anything. You can't be in a school. Oh, I've been teaching in a school for 25 years. Yeah, but you never had a degree in the original. You can't teach kids anymore. It's the same in that industry. They all had to do a PGCE, even though they've got degrees. And I'm sure there's many other trades and industries out there that's the same, where old qualifications and old experience still needs to be brought up to date. And it's right. I don't know why, just because the tradesmen think it don't apply to them, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's the historical mindset of like a tax on them that's taking money out of their earning potential. And, you can kind of see it when they're in the agency circuit, the money is tight. So I do understand that. But, priority is the safety and standards in the industry. And there's got to be a change. I think it's a good move, but time will tell if it is or it isn't, as with everything. But it's interesting to chat with you about the domestic electrician apprenticeship, because, that's something that you're actively involved with now, and seeing how that might help in your sector, well, the renewables and solar space, because it does seem angled in towards that, is interesting. So thanks for being so honest on that one. Have you got any top tips for people who are looking to come into the electrical industry, as someone who is an employer, before we close this one out, someone who's done it? What would be your top 3 ideas for someone who's desperate to get a job working as an electrician?
Is this in terms of a young'un trying to?
Yeah. So brand new, fresh out of school, what should they be doing to try and get into this industry?
I think the number one main thing is actually coming across as being interested. That's like the enthusiasm. That's the main thing. There's nothing more frustrating as an employer than paying someone who doesn't seem like they even want to be in work. Yeah, like if they've just got no interest, and they're not turning up at college, and they're not doing anything to further their own learning. When they're at work, they're just miserable and kicking their heels all day. It's just like, you deserve to get the sack for that sort of thing. It's not acceptable. If you're coming in and you're really showing willing, you're keen to learn, even if you're rubbish at it, it don't matter, because eventually you'll pick it up, you'll get it, and you'll get there. And that's what it's all about. It's showing willing, it's showing that you're keen, making the effort, demonstrating that you're willing to learn.
That's a key message that we keep repeating, and that's why I asked you to say it again, because there is a lot of young people who do watch these, and they really do need to get that message that be confident. It is really hard. I remember when I was 16 speaking to what you're seen as adult grown-ups. You've got to have a bit of confidence about you. Put yourself out there. We don't bite. We just want to see that you're going to be, successful employees at the end of the day. We need that confidence in you as much as you need that confidence in us. So put yourself out there would be my message.
I said it earlier in the show about the Call of Duty thing, but like most of these teenagers or young adults would happily spend the evening chatting rubbish to strangers on Call of Duty all night, playing in a group with friends, sticking FIFA on, doing that, or going down to the football at the weekend, chatting to any old bloke they see about football. And they can do all of that. So it's no different. Like electrics, talking about work, it's no different. Just chat, show interest, learn about it, and you'll go far. You'll go far.
Yeah, too right. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today, Ben, and it's great to see that you've achieved the success you have from starting out as an apprentice who just wanted to fix TVs to where you are today. It's fantastic. That's one of the other purposes of this podcast, is to show what's possible for people, where you can end up. You could be like Ben one day with 7 vans on the road looking after installs all around your local area. The options are endless. I've loved my journey so far in this industry. It sounds like Ben has too. The world really is your oyster with it. So don't give up. It does seem really difficult sometimes. Is there anything else you want to mention while you're with me today, Ben?
No, I think that's it. I think it's just good luck to anyone who wants to get into the industry. I think it's never been easier. It's also at the same time never been as hard. It's never been so hard. Both ways of looking at it. If you take advantage of the tools available, you can find your way in very easily, because you can easily make yourself stand out against the competition.
Too right. And if anybody does want to follow Ben on social media, I'll pop all of his handles in the description to the video below. And if you were looking for any solar panels, it sounds like his phone's off the hook anyway, but you can find him in the links below the description of this video. So please go off and do so. Thanks for taking the time out today to chat with me, Ben. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you back again another time in the future. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Apprentice 1-to-1 podcast, sponsored by Schneider Electric. Please like and subscribe to the channel, get involved with the comments, and we will see you on the next one.